So my name is Vlad, and I'm course leader at Reply.io, and I've been trying lots of different cold outreach strategies with mm, like personalized images mostly, and yeah, super happy to share my experience. And we have Jan. So Jan, yeah, with about you and your company and what your product does.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me on this webinar. It's amazing. Obviously, we did this once before, maybe like 2 years ago, I think. Thank you very much for having me back. Yeah, obviously, I'm the co-founder of Hyperise. Hyperise is actually a tool that we created for another SaaS business that we have, where we were doing a lot of cold outreach, and we found that personalized images were amazingly beneficial for putting across a message, visualizing that. And actually, within our own, with my other SaaS business, we actually text our own results by doing that. And it was a tool we originally built over 4 years ago, as like I say, an internal tool, and then externalized it just because we'd shared some of the success stories with some of our other people in our own kind of social groups of the SaaS founders, and a lot of people saying, "Hey, I would love an example of that." And I think even yourselves, you were already building your own personalized imagery tools internally, and there's probably maybe a few people seeing, case studies and thinking, oh, that looks great, and cobbling together these tools. And we thought, maybe there's something that we could externalize. And, in the last probably 4 years since we've done that, 3.5 years since we've done that, we've seen amazing response. Now that you have thousands of users worldwide using Hyperise and seeing amazing results, personalizing their outreach, and we've seen, so obviously the use cases, you always, whenever you build a tool or you put your platform out there, you're always surprised by the flexibility, and people use it in ways that you never envisaged, and that's really amazing to see. So yeah, it's quite a journey over the last 4 years, probably to the point where we are today. But yeah, it's amazing to be here and be able to share it with yourself and with your community.
Oh, cool. Wow, cool. I didn't recall that like that you created it as an internal tool at the first point. Yeah, wow, interesting. I thought it just was an idea to build as a product from scratch, but I guess it's wow, cool story that was your internal tool.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah. All right, so let us know in the chat, have you ever received a personalized image in your email? Let us know. Have you get this? Have you ever received these personalized cold emails with images in your emails? Let's see. Let's see the
If
chat.
that's them in there. A couple of no's coming in, which is great in a way, because what that means is that there's still so much potential out there to grab people's attention, and I'm always surprised by that. That we've been running for a few years now, and whenever we do either sales calls or demos or even webinars like this, majority of people have never heard of Hyperide, never heard of image personalization, or like you say, never received one, which means that the pattern interrupt, the difference, they're going to be able to stand out from what everybody else is doing. There's still so much potential out there. Even seasoned marketers are still being surprised and learning these sort of techniques. And one of the things we're going to learn today is how incredibly simple it is to implement these and how effective it can be.
Mhm.
It's kind of from a low hanging fruit perspective of what you can do as a salesperson or a marketer. This is probably one of the easiest things that you can do that has the biggest impact. So, well, in a weird sort of way, it's always great to hear people say no, they've never received them.
Yeah.
Although some people that will have registered for this event via LinkedIn, they'll have probably received a couple from ourselves in the process of that. So maybe, but if you haven't, no worries, because today we're going to cover you and show you all of the great examples that we've put together, or that you've mostly put together. I can't claim all the work for the great work you've done here and in this deck that we're looking at, but some amazing examples you've put together in this little
Yeah.
presentation today.
Yeah, I saw we will receive at least one yes or something, but I agree that it's still surprisingly like Interesting strategy, and sounds like not so many people use it right now. So there's still potential, and I agree that probably it's one of the easiest way to improve your cold outreach reply rates. All right. So, and number two, have you ever sent a personalized image to a prospect within your cold emails? So let us know.
Also, just to one of the questions or one of the responses came in there from Beatrix, where she mentioned
Oh yeah.
reluctance to open images. Actually, you don't need, in the case of the way how we deliver the images, you don't need to open them because they're actually embedded in the message, so that they will kind of be they're kind of cloud based, so they're kind of hosted in the cloud, so that it's not like you've got to open like a PDF, which obviously we know that the potential for that to be, have some sort of macros embedded or anything like that. That this is just a kind of a very dumb in kind of from a technology perspective image. You can't have any sort of cyber attacks or phishing or anything like that
Mhm.
embedded in there. So it's not going to trigger a negative side, if you like. Obviously, there's a lot of bad actors out there that do all sorts of strange things to try and manipulate people's goodwill. This isn't kind of one of those in terms of even have the capability to do that. And so, yeah, we're not going to have to come across that sort of friction point. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, agree. So, okay, I guess we will have lots of questions about spam deliverability. So feel free to add them. We will go through all the comments and questions during the presentation, and we'll answer as many questions as possible because, yeah, I guess there are tons of questions there, and Jan is like an expert in this, and probably we should all follow him and his materials on personalization at scale, especially images, personalized images at scale. So yeah, he will answer lots of those questions. So cool. Okay, so here's what we will cover today. First of all, we will discuss why it matters and why use personalized images in your outreach. Then we will explain how to use your image personalization and how you can actually automate this approach and how you can automate personalized sales sequences with visuals at scale. And we will share our own experience, our own examples, use cases, lots of examples, and then we will share lots of ideas and inspiration to help you with those strategies. Then we will have a Q&A. Again, feel free to ask questions during the presentation. We will answer them. And so stick with us till the end because we will have an interesting quiz in the end. And we will, as always, we will share the recordings, templates, slides, everything after the event. So I guess putting my back to you, Jan. You can start sharing the screen.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me share my screen then, and I'll continue where you've left off. Thank you very much for that. So yeah, in terms of why it matters, what is the reason why we want to include images in our outreach? And obviously, the first reason is something that, irrespective of how we do it, the reason for why we want to do it is because engagement is getting harder, right? We're all being bombarded by literally thousands of messages a day from your sales and marketing professionals. There's only so many ways that you can contact people. Obviously, phone, email, maybe social DMs, etc. All those channels are becoming increasingly kind of busy, let's say, and so to be able to stand out in that is the kind of the thing that is becoming increasingly harder. And because we've all got the same amount of hours in any given day, if the messages, the frequency or the volume of those messages is increasing, then the amount of time we have to grab people's attention is reducing. And actually, this survey here, 8 seconds, I believe it's even less than that now, because this New York Times survey was done a couple of years ago. And obviously, the amount of noise and traffic and messages we receive has increased even more by that. It's exponentially kind of growing on a year-on-year basis. So a few seconds to grab someone's attention is really not a lot. If you think about how long it takes you to read a sentence or a paragraph, we're kind of really having to use hooks. And obviously, there's a lot of great tools out there, AI, for example, that can write really compelling, personalized content. But to even get the person to read that content, you've got to do something pretty special to even get them to engage in that. And that's kind of really where Hyperise comes in terms of personalized images. An image in your message isn't a replacement for great content, isn't a replacement for AI, and having really personalized text. What the image is doing is becoming a doorway that will generate some initial engagement, which will then mean that the recipient is now engaged enough to then invest in reading the rest of your message. And then obviously it's the rest of that message that is really going to kind of instill that that kind of want or demand kind of to take your call to action. And the reason why that is the case, why images are so effective, is that humans are essentially visual learners. The majority of us, are kind of visual learners, but all of us will process images significantly quicker than text. It's like literally 60,000 times quicker. And essentially what happens is when our brain interprets and sees an image, you've got the subconscious part of the brain that is initially processing it and thinking, right, okay, what is this? Scanning it. And if you have something personalized in there, like their name or maybe a business logo or even a screenshot of your website, the subconscious brain just kind of stops. Wow, there's something different about this, something different from what we'd normally expect. And it's kind of shouting out to the conscious brain to say, hey, pay attention to this, it's different. And that kind of friction we get from those two elements is referred to as a pattern interrupt. And essentially what we're doing is we're generating mind share. We're generating this kind of increased mind share through this pattern interrupt. And that increased mind share then leads to more engagement, more people, thinking, wow, okay, you've got my attention now. Now I'm going to pay more attention to the rest of the message, read that block of text. And so what we're doing is we're removing the friction from communication in terms of getting people to stand up and take notice. And obviously the great thing about images is they're inherently portable. We can take an image and we can drop it in your newsletter, in your cold email, in your LinkedIn outreach messages. You can personalize your websites. Pretty much, images themselves are universal. PNGs and GIFs, JPEGs. They've been around since the dawn of internet, right? And so, whilst obviously lots of newer kind of mediums and kind of things, this is kind of as old as email. And so pretty much everywhere you go online, images are going to be supported. So it means that you can then follow people around with these images. And that's obviously a great way, and a very simple way of doing that. And what we're going to look at today is how we can create an image with placeholders in it. So in the same way that, we've learned as sales and marketing people that, we're going to put placeholders in our content. Hi, your bracketed first name. I was looking at company name, using that sort of philosophy of parameter-driven messaging, being able to drop those parameters into an image, so effectively creating an image template, and then at scale being able to recreate and personalize those in the same way that we would do with a mass email campaign. And that's kind of what we're going to look at today. We're really going to delve into how we can create hyper personalization. So kind of really creating this kind of really intense in terms of engagement grabbing personalization, but again doing it at scale so that you can actually create it once, set and forget. And that's really the key. With all of these kind of campaigns, whether it's email or LinkedIn, obviously it can become really time consuming if you're trying to do it on a manual one-to-one basis. Of course, that's how AI has been incredibly powerful in terms of kind of removing that heavy lifting. And that's the same philosophy that Hyperise produces as well, in terms of being able to really kind of shift the kind of the needle in terms of what we can do without having to spend a lot of time doing it. And of course, with all of these, it's the uplift that you're going to get is significant. We have clients that have tripled or quadrupled. We've had one client that, for example, that they got 14x, so 14 times more engagement in their campaigns by making these very, very simple changes. So as I was referenced before, these are things that you can change, implement today in your reply.io campaigns that will take very little time, an hour, let's say, including the learning of the platform, never mind the actual implementation. Once you've learned the platform, it can literally take minutes to do. And then, it personalizes for literally thousands of prospects as you do that. And so really amazing. So, but anyway, as I said, it's all about a visual medium. So let's have a quick example, a quick look at something here to show exactly what this is looking for. So in this case, what we're looking at here is an email to Edgar. And what we can see in this image, let's just kind of break it down. What we're doing is, first of all, we have a little call to action in the image just floating over it. In this case, asking Edgar, do you have time for a coffee? Mentioning his name there. So that's kind of quite, let's say, not subtle. It's kind of the first thing you probably see. Is from in terms of from Edgar's perspective, he can be drawn straight into his name there in the image. And then also what he's going to see is myself there. So what we're doing is we're creating some sort of human connection. We as humans love to kind of also connect and engage with other humans more than any other sort of arbitrary object. And so, we're going to start building stronger relationships with that humanized element. But also what we're doing is we're creating some sort of visualization of our call to action. So you can see there, I'm there with my coffee cup, and I've kind of synced up the call to action with the visualization of that. And so again, that's going to help him understand. He's going to read that there. He's going to see me there, the coffee. And so it's almost like he's now seen that message twice. And then on a maybe less obvious but subtle way, that the brain will obviously, that subconscious brain will have completely noticed and got on board with, is that on my screen behind him is also Edgar works for Pulseway, and so you can see his name on my screen and also his website on there. So again, just more little signals that actually that his brain's going to pick up, and that's going to help trigger that pattern interrupt. And we can see the response here from Edgar, which is pretty much exactly the sort of thing that you will typically see from these sort of personalized emails. In this case, he's saying, I never reply to these emails. This is the first one that works. And that's kind of really the thing here, that people that are hardened to, I'm receiving cold emails all the time. I'm not, I'm predisposed not to like them. I'm not going to engage in them. I'm just kind of, managing my inbox and just kind of deleting, the majority of those messages. You're kind of jolting them out of that experience and making them kind of think about things for a moment. And that's exactly what we did with Edgar here. And that's where you start to see that sort of uplift from these, these kind of changing the gut response that people would have typically to maybe a cold email. And so really what we're doing, as we say there, is we're turning these reluctant replies, people that, could potentially be buyers that maybe you have a good fit for, but just, their natural reaction is just to say no because it's a cold email. Now you're making them think, increasing that engagement, and obviously that engagement is then what leads to them actually taking action, in this case with Edgar, booking a call, which is kind of what our call to action was. What we can also do is get word of mouth referrals. So of course, sometimes when we're doing outreach, we're putting a lot of effort into targeting, trying to get the right person, but it doesn't always work. Maybe we've reached too high or we've reached too low in the organization. We haven't got the right person, and that's of course kind of 99 times out of 100. If you don't get the exact targeting right, your campaign's going to fall flat, and you're going to get your email deleted immediately, or even worse, marked as spam, because you've created no goodwill, and people are just, I guess, a bit miffed, that you've bothered them, and you're not even bothered the right person. But actually, when we start to use personalized images, we're creating this goodwill. It's like the law of reciprocity, which states that if you do something nice for somebody, they're going to feel more compelled to respond in a positive way. So in this case, I've reached out to Jonathan and I've personalized my message to him. I've got I'm again humanizing it with myself in there. I've got a bit of a smile going on, and and I've got some personalization mentioning in his business here, TFC marketing, and creating some personalization that way. And so rather than him, like I say, marking me as spam or deleting me, he's actually referred me to somebody else within the organization. So he's going to say, right, okay, this looks great. I've referred it to my team. Or oftentimes it might be, maybe not even to a colleague, but a friend who they think, is kind of maybe open to the solution or the call to action you're providing. And so not only are we getting those reluctant repliers to engage, also we're getting word of mouth referrals, which obviously are incredibly powerful in terms of kind of building out the engagement of your campaigns. And so just these couple of examples just kind of show you the sort of responses that you could start to expect that typically right now that you're not getting because you've not engaged or you've not delighted, you've not delivered this moment of delight to your recipients. So yeah, certainly some good examples there from ourselves. And I think, William, you've got a couple of examples here yourselves of images that you've used in your own outreach.
Yep. So let me share also the story how we started using personalized images at scale, and it was like a long time ago. So can you please stop sharing the screen, so because I can't share it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. You
yeah.
go.
All right. Here we go. So how we at Reply started using images at scale. Well, this story started like I guess in 2018 or 2019 when I joined Reply as an SDR, like almost 6 or 7 years ago, and I saw an article from one of sales agencies, outbound sales agencies, and they said, hey, we started using personalized images at scale for our outbound efforts, and it helped us like almost 2x or 3x replies. I was, wow, that's cool. And back in that time, I was coding a little bit, and I decided, wow, let's do this. And then I realized, okay, I can code it myself, and then I just used a CSV file or some simple language, like programming language, to grab data from the CSV files and push it to my code, and then I will generate lots of personalized images based on my variables, including things like logo, their logo background, their company name, their avatar from LinkedIn, stuff like that. And then I came up with this idea, and then we started testing the idea. And then what happened actually, I was almost doubled my results. We were able to almost double our reply rates when we implemented personalized images at scale. And I was like, wow, now it's time to scale those things. And now, like almost 6 or 7 years since then, I understand why it works, because as Jan said, we are visual people. We can quickly scan the image. We can quickly understand. We can understand the content of this image super fast. For example, here I'm explaining how they can use reply: import your list, create sequence, personalize, and grow your company. And it's a little bit faster than reading your cold emails, especially if those cold emails are like long. And another study says that typically they spend up to 15 seconds reading cold marketing emails. So when you use just plain text, there is a huge chance you can explain everything your company does. You can explain the idea of why you're reaching out to them. So that's why personalized image can help you with it, because that's how they can scan it quick and understand actually the concept of your cold email. And then, yeah, we started using it almost in all our sequences. And then I will share some of our different ideas on how we use it, examples, stuff like that. All right, so back to you again.
Fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you. I saw a couple of questions there as well whilst you were chatting. So maybe I'll just touch upon those. Somebody mentioned about the GIFs. What we've found, again, just from like with any sort of campaign that you do, obviously doing some testing, A versus B, multivariate testing is critical, I think, in any sort of campaign you're doing. So certainly wouldn't want anybody to take my word verbatim of it. Always test what works best. From our own testing, what we found is that the GIF, the movement, particularly when it's a humanized image, it brings it to life. So, you kind of animates the person. And so you get better results from that. And actually, the quiz we're looking at, when I say quiz, let's not get too heavy here. It's for fun only, but it shows an A/B test we did of over 6 different images, and the GIFs won out by a significant margin. So, I'm a big believer in that I will test everything I do, and the winning result is the one that I go with, even if it's not my own taste. Oftentimes I will think that's going to be the winner, and it's not, and you'll surprise yourself. And so, I lean into the science of it, if you like. But so the gifts are kind of the thing that drags more attention. You might be suggesting it might be a little bit too busy, but actually the busyness is maybe the thing that drives the engagement. And so if somebody responds, that's the key. And that's obviously kind of what we're suggesting here. In terms of looking at some images that kind of, how can we use an image in an effective way? And obviously the key with image personalization is to make it purposeful, is to help kind of message or visualize the story or the context of the message itself. So, for example, here's something in LinkedIn. Obviously, a lot of people get LinkedIn fatigue. We get lots of messages there, and oftentimes, what I want to do is reach out to somebody, and I'll often talk about saying, "Hey, let's have a chat and a coffee." And the reason why I'm using that vernacular, why I'm saying that, is not obviously they might be the other side of the world, and so we're not actually going to meet up in a coffee shop for a coffee, but it's just a simple way of saying this is a small amount of engagement I'm asking for. I'm not asking for, hey, let's meet up and I'll give you a full demo or a full consultation of your business. Let's chat and coffee and get to know you meet. And so it's a small ask. And so people understand that a coffee meeting is less heavy than something else. And so it's just a shortcut way that most people understand. And so therefore it's less ask. But still, they have to kind of read that and understand that. Whereas if we have some sort of visualization, in this case, obviously, Starbucks is a global brand, and so easy to see. And then obviously what they really do what they do in real life is they do write your name on the cup, right? And so we're visualizing something that people will be familiar with. They're not going to look at that image and think, why is my name on that cup? Because actually that's something that actually would have happened in their life already. So we're replicating something that will be familiar to them. Obviously their name extremely familiar to them. And we're making it purposeful because we're also reinforcing the message. In this case, let's have a coffee and a chat. We reduce the ask, we visualize that ask, and so it's something that's going to be understood very, very simply. A very simple image to recreate. In fact, within Hyperise itself, we have this sort of image as a template, so you can use something like this, without having to kind of lift a finger or do any sort of design work at all. This next image here, this is maybe more at the opposite end of the scale in terms of investment, in terms of creating an image. But the result of this was absolutely massive. This is one of our clients, Hubstaff, and their call to action is asking people to sign up for a self-serve free trial. And so much bigger ask than, hey, let's have a coffee and a chat. But what they found is that their product is not complicated, let's say, but trying to describe in an email when you're trying to do something very succinctly is, essentially their product is managing remote workers. And so they take, timesheets and something that's kind of quite cumbersome and often done in spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff. And they've created this nice SaaS solution for it, where they've got this nice dashboard that shows everything in a very simple way. And so what they did is they took their product screenshots and personalize them to each prospect. So you can see in this image example here, it's personalized. In this case, it's Tim Cook from Apple. So actually, the first person listed in the dashboard is the prospect's name. They've got the logo in the app side of the product, and even the map is is personalized to their location. And what that means is there are, in this image itself, 12 signals, 12 personalized elements that are going to be really triggering that subconscious brain and triggering that pattern interrupt. But at the same time, kind of demonstrating, say, hey, look, this is a product that's actually going to add some value. And because it's personalized, people are going to be invested more in looking and understanding the product and thinking, oh, actually, that looks really cool. That looks like something I might be interested in. And that image inside a cold outreach email quadrupled. They got 4 times as many people clicking to take that call to action as when they had no image whatsoever. And an interesting fact, actually, with Hubstaff, they have 4 or 5 obviously different areas of their product. So they tried different screenshots of different elements to see which one was the best. And even the worst performing image was still 2 and a bit times more effective than no image whatsoever. and this was the winning one in this case, like 4 times more effective than no image. So, it really had a massive effect. And for them, it was a bit of a paradigm shift in terms of the kind of how they looked at email. Before, they considered email maybe not necessarily the best channel for them. It wasn't very effective. And all of a sudden, by doing this, it became their best channel. And this is something that's echoed here. Actually, we're going to be sharing this deck at the end of the session, sending it out. And actually, there's a testimonial here that you can click and not take my word for it, but listen to Jesse Rowe here, who's the head of growth for G2. Now, I'm sure everybody or most people on this call will be familiar with G2 and what they do. They obviously they're a great discovery for software businesses, and they produce on a quarterly basis these kind of grid quadrant reports, showing who is the leader by category. But in this case, what they did is they took those visualizations, something that showed success, very, very succinctly, but personalized it to every recipient. So the people they were reaching out to were people that aren't featured on these grid reports, that maybe haven't achieved the success yet within their with their chosen sector. But what they did is they mocked up these ones and created these examples and showed the prospect in that leading position with the kind of aspirational message of, if you work with G2, you could become a category leader in the future. So, a really compelling message. You can imagine that if you were, a SaaS owner, or, you were kind of running or responsible for a piece of software, and you saw your logo, in the prime position within this, within this chart, that will grab your attention, and you'll be really curious to understand what it was, and then you'll be engaged in the rest of the message. And in their case, increased their reply rates from 15 to 48%. So a huge uplift. It tripled the response rate essentially by having this one image. And again, if you listen to the testimony from Jesse here, the numbers that they're talking about, they have like tens of thousands of emails that they're sending out, with these messages in there. Absolutely crazy. And it's actually changed the way that they look at email now as an outreach medium simply by doing that. And again, obviously, these are static images. Going back to the point of kind of where there's GIFs. Obviously, these is a GIF we're looking at here because we're just showing different examples of how the product could look, or the image could look with different logos in here. But that was a static image they were sending out. But it was what fits in the camp of a visualization, kind of showing something and visualizing and painting a picture to the recipient to say, hey, look, this is what you can do. Obviously, the opposite side of that, rather than visualization, is kind of the humanization. So if your call to action is going to lead to some sort of human interaction, so if you're a salesperson asking for a meeting, or if you're a marketing team saying, hey, come and join our webinar or our online event, humanizing it, introducing yourself in a way before you actually get to meet them. Again, you're kind of being able to leverage things, as I mentioned before, like the law of reciprocity. And here we've kind of got these images where we're kind of superimposing maybe the call to action or the message, maybe putting their website on your laptop screen, or even you holding a sign, holding something, and being able to show people that this kind of whatever it may be, like say your call to action, or even an event ticket, or it could be you holding an iPad, with their website on it, talking about how I've just looked at your website and I saw something really cool I'd like to share with you. So humanizing them, a great way of kind of getting some sort of engagement. And again, looking at some of the responses from these sort of types of images, you really are kind of creating a lot of love, like with those kind of with that outreach, creating an impression from people of the full spectrum, from juniors right the way up to kind of CEO founders, in this case, like Rebecca here. It's like, love this. You really escalated her feel good kind of factor, if you like, from being able to do that. Of course, you can also inject some humor into it as well. I mean, this is Eric Gold from Orca, one of our clients. Obviously, there's Orca security, so he's kind of really leaning into his brand, and he actually popped on an Orca suit for this one and doubled the amount of demos. So kind of being a bit lighthearted. Again, in this case, this is like cybersecurity is their business, and so quite a somber topic. And I guess their CISOs, the chief information security officers that they're targeting, are probably used to having quite a somber life, and probably not necessarily having a smile put on their face, in their inbox. And so again, being able to stand out and doing something quite different, a little bit zany, can have a massive impact. Um, Obviously, we've got lots of other case studies here. I don't want to just kind of give you death by kind of PowerPoint here, but this one here is one that stood out for me, where we did an A/B test with a client, and on the right hand side we've got the textual email that they sent out with links, call to action of the kind of three different choices. And on the left-hand side, the exact same email, word for word, but replacing the links with images that visualize those. And they got 14 times more clicks. That's 14 times more people kind of putting their hand up and entering kind of the next step of the funnel by engaging that, by simply by providing these images. So, the kind of the idea of maybe people not liking images, maybe that's something that people say, but that's not how they act. People definitely do like to receive these. A couple more examples here from you. If you'd like to talk these through, I can either leave
Sure,
the.
sure, sure. Yeah, you can scroll it. Okay, so and yeah, by the way, love the G2 case study, I guess. Sounds really impressive. Didn't know they use it. Yeah, G2 example is awesome. I guess we have a few questions. Maybe let me quickly go through them.
Hmm,
Number one, have we the risk of end up on spam? Probably the more important one.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Yeah, I know that you did your own A/B test, and we've done it as well. And essentially, how an email ends up in spam, there's essentially two core reasons for that. The first of those is kind of what the email contains. Is it just an image with no text? Is it a lot of kind of using bad words or trigger words? And just kind of like SEO, right? You've got your on page and off page, right? It's the same with email. But it's obviously what's inside the email. But then there's also the other side, which is your domain reputation. And so, irrespective of what's inside your email, if you've got a bad domain reputation, you're going to end up in spam, right? Or more than likely end up in spam. And that's kind of one of the things that Hyperise can really help with, is that your domain reputation is based on the engagement you're getting in your emails, how many people are responding to them versus how many people are kind of marking you as spam or deleting you without ever kind of engaging. And so your email service providers, your ESPs, are looking at the engagement of the emails you're sending out. And so the less times you get marked spam, the more times you get kind of engagement, then the better your domain reputation, which essentially is kind of, if anyone's ever looked at like an email warming up tool, that's essentially what they're doing. They're trying to mimic, in a false sort of way, using bots, people replying and responding to your emails. Whereas what Hyperize does that in a natural way. You're sending out emails and you're naturally getting more engagement, like some of these examples we looked at before, where people are doubling, tripling, quadrupling their reply rates or kind of click-throughs from their emails, because you're engaging and increasing the likelihood of people responding to your emails. And so what happens is, when you start to use Hyperize images in your emails, you're going to improve your engagement, and at the same time your domain reputation is going to improve. And so that means that you're going to land in the inbox rather than the promotion folder, and you're going to get more replies. And then as your domain reputation improves, you're going to kind of increase more of that. And then obviously you've got more kind of people seeing your emails to then drive more engagement. And so it becomes this like self-fulfilling kind of circle of responses. And so really is, from a, is it going to impact? Yes, it certainly is going to impact, but it's going to impact in a positive way. And of course, like I say, the content of your email is still important, and you can use like SpamCop, lots of other tools out there, that where you can get your score of your email, and of course you can put your images in those emails and see that actually it's very easy to get a kind of 7 or 8 out of 10 with an image in there, by following all the rules. And essentially that means that don't just have an image, because that kind of can look spammy. As long as you've got some text in your email as well to accompany your image, then that doesn't look spammy, and this kind of the spam filters don't mind that at all. If you look at most corporate emails will have some sort of imagery in there, whether it's the logo or some sort of corporate responsibility statement, which will generally be an image. So an image in itself is inherently a bad thing. Lots of emails have images in there, for lots of valid reasons, and so that in itself is not the problem. It's everything else, your domain reputation being the majority of the contributor to that.
Yeah, agree. So, given my experience, by the way, I forgot to mention one important thing. We have already sent like more than 100,000 cold emails with personalized images, like lots of them. And essentially, it didn't ruin our domain reputation. And when we A/B test one email with an image, another one without image, open rates are basically the same. So pretty much the same, like maybe 1-2% up and down, but in terms of open rates, it's pretty much the same. With reply rates, it depends on image, but typically the reply rate is way higher, maybe 2x, 3x higher in comparison to plain text. So and agree. So it's still about email copy, about who you target, your list, your data, and then essentially in spam, it's super important to have a good like outgoing incoming emails. So when you have this ratio, it's okay. So personalized images may help you increase reply rates, and that way you will have healthier outbound inbound emails ratio. So that's how you can improve actual deliverability. But again, my also suggestion here is to make sure your images are like short, like small in terms of megabytes, kilobytes. You just compress it, make it smaller, and you will be fine.
Yeah.
All right. So when it comes to cold outreach, so here our results. We've been inserting some emails. We were personalizing on, as I said, on their logo, their company background. Now we have one of our SDRs, Alessia. She's like doing lots of different things with coffee, with laptop, with phone screen, different approaches. And now we actually use all. I don't even A/B test things now because I know that like follow-ups with personalized images work better. So there is no need to A/B test for me. So we typically use them in lots of different follow-ups. For example, one of our follow-ups is just any thoughts, first name any thoughts, question mark, that's it. And then we just A/B test and add an image below that one, and it works. We also use it for lots of different use cases, not just for outbound. For example, we use it for inviting our prospects to our conference, Sales Development Excellence. We use it just to engage opportunities with sharing a personalized, let's say, gift cards or personalized promotions, stuff like that. And typically we get positive replies. Just some of them I put together them before the presentation. Just how it works. In my opinion, here's how it works. If you have a prospect in your list that if they reply without an image, they will reply back. But for some of prospects, we need something additional, something special. And when we add an image, a prospect who would reply without an image, they will still reply to us. But the prospect who needs something special, this like a trigger and a pattern interrupter for them. So that's how you can like boost your reply rates. So yeah, that's the results.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Some great anecdotal feedback there, which is always nice to see. But yeah, I never get bored. I kind of see these sort of responses every day from our kind of clients saying, "Oh, this is what I got." But it's always amazing to see those.
Yeah. And yeah, by the way, we use Hyperise for that here in Reply. So yeah,
Absolutely.
right now. So okay, now let's talk about live demo, how you can create personalized images in Hyperise and how you can like scale it with Reply. So let's
Yeah,
get started with this.
perfect. Right, so I'm just going to jump straight into my Hyperise account. Obviously, everybody here on the webinar today, you can all go to hyperise.com and start your free trial. It's 14 days access, no credit card needed. So, there's no commitment, no reason not to kind of at least have a play. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the process of, creating a personalized image from scratch. So I'm just going to click on this create new image here. And we've got hundreds of templates of things that you can do, that can either visualize your call to action, maybe with like gift cards or receipts, or we can examples, we can humanize them. So I'm just going to choose a humanized one now just to show you, how simple that can be. So I'm going to choose these templates. And again, we're going to see a bunch of different examples of things we could do. So maybe I'm going to just choose a simple of me holding something with a call to action. But these could be certificates, it could be whatever, or you could create something completely from scratch, and upload your own imagery as well. But I'll just choose this one for now, which is going to essentially, within the image editor here, if you've ever used anything like Photoshop or Canva, you'll be very familiar with the paradigm of each of these are different elements, different layers, and we can just personalize or kind of stylize each element in terms of font, color, size, all those sort of things. And we can just drag in the different elements. So obviously we've got some text elements here. Maybe let's say we wanted their website on here. We could just drag in a website element, and that's going to automatically display their website based on their email or the website that it gets passed through. And you can even have this website scrolling. So if you wanted to have maybe almost like a visual of like a Loom call with your talking head in the corner and the website scrolling in the background, you could do that. And again, with logos, again, you can drop in a logo layer, and that will automatically personalize to the prospect's logo dynamically, again, using their business domain or email to so again, Hyperise doing all the heavy lifting, so you don't need to do any of that at all. But essentially, once you've got your image composition how you want it to, let's say maybe, do you have time? Oh, helps if you can spell for a coffee. So I've got my call to action here. We've got our personalized element, which is their name. We've got their logo here. We have our own logo, and again, we've got some little kind of emojis in there. Again, obviously, you can create exactly whatever you want, complete freedom to do that. And we could obviously use this as an image as it is, without any further elements. Just have it as a static image, with the personalization of their logo and name. Or with any image template that you create within Hyperise, you can also humanize it. So I'm going to go to this tab here, humanize. And what it's going to allow me to do is, if I've already recorded one, I can kind of select that from my library or my image ones. Or if I want to, if you're new to Hyperise, then what we can do is we can record our own GIF. And essentially, the way that we do that is we use our webcam and we use one of these placeholders. And you can just download this directly and print it off. So this is just printed off from the platform. Or if you don't have access to a printer, you can scan the QR code there below and actually have it on your device. But what I'm going to do is just show you how simple it is to do this. So I'm going to click record, get a nice little timer, and I'm just going to be able to kind of for me, point at it or move it close to the camera or whatever it is. And this whole placeholder here is now going to get replaced with our template. So if I now just save that and just save this image, what we'll see is the template we have here is now in my hand, just using augmented reality. And actually, if I wanted the image template to be bigger than this card, I can even scale that out. So I can even make that bigger. So if I want it to be bigger than my hand, what I like to do is I can just see the fingertips of my hand behind the card there. Maybe I would have done it so I could see a bit more of my face. Maybe I'll scale that down a little bit so we can see what's going on there. So we've got our image. And now what we can do is make it public so it's available to use. And we can even preview it here with some data. So in this case, we've got Ian at App Institute, and we're pulling through the App Institute logo there. And obviously, we've got Ian in terms of the name, the call to action there. So very simple to do. That probably took about 2 minutes. And then obviously, the next step is, as William says, we want to scale this out now. We want to be able to use this image, put it in our reply.io template, and then send it out to, 1 million people or whatever it may be. And so to do that, again, even simpler than the steps we've just started with there, all we need to do is choose get image code from here, and we're going to add our integration. So in this case, obviously, I'm going to choose, really not doing very well with the typing today. I'm going to choose reply.io. It's going to give us the code here. So I'm going to simply click copy there. And I'm going to head over to reply. I'm going to go into my template here. So we've got my template here, hi, first name. I'm going to remove that test image. I'm going to go to the point where I want in the message. I'm going to click the little insert image. And here in the source, I'm just going to paste in what we've copied from Hyperise. Paste that in. That's going to pull through the first name variable and the email variable from the data we have in reply.io. And that's going to insert the image into this template. And bam, there we see we've kind of got the image. It can even size that if we want it to be bigger or smaller. And if we can see, we've got the first name parameter in there, and that's just going to personalize dynamically in the same way that this parameter here will personalize when we use this template to send out, and obviously automatically personalize. Now we're going to have this personalized image that's going to dynamically personalize on the fly as well. So that's it. That is really as simple as it gets in terms of one, creating your image, and two, embedding it in your template. So again, not to over egg the pudding, but obviously we've got guides on this that again is available in the deck here. So you can access that if any of this that wasn't clear. Again, we've got a detailed instructions of exactly where we do that and how we've just done it. But obviously you've got this guide now to be able to see exactly how that works. So I can see that there's a couple of questions and chats come up now. So maybe now is a good time to kind of answer some of those. We do have some bonus content here that some really great articles that Reply have produced on cold emails, and of course about personalizing your content as well. Some amazing things, but maybe just conscious that we're kind of running up to the hour mark now. So let's maybe tackle those questions if we have any.
In the meantime, I will also just add one thing. If you want just to see how those personalized images will work for every single prospect in your list in Reply, you just can go to preview mode and you will see then an actual personalized image. So then you can just go to the preview mode when you have prospect in your list, and that will that's how you can see if everything works properly. Yeah, you will see everything here. And then you will have already personalized image with their first name, like logo, stuff like that. So everything will be available in the preview mode. So that's the only thing I wanted to add in terms of ZDMO. So thanks for the heavy lifting on terms of that. Yeah.
No problem. Always
Yeah.
happy to help. Yes, Simon
Yeah.
asked a question about kind of the what. Obviously, some of the examples we've shown here in terms of coffee, that was something that we've tried internally, and that worked in terms of reducing the ask, and that kind of helped remove the friction. But like we saw with, for example, with Hubstaff and with G2, making the image very purposeful, displaying, some elements of your product or something of what visualizes success. Again, they were getting like 3x and 4x their typical responses by utilizing this. And so again, it's about using an image that reinforces what your call to action is. So I'm not suggesting if you don't already say, hey, let's have a chat and a coffee, then maybe using a coffee cup wouldn't necessarily be the right image for you. We were already using that vernacular, that call to action. And so we use the image to reinforce that. So it's kind of not putting the cart before the horse, as in, you should already know what your call to action is and kind of what you're trying to say to your prospects. And so the image should really reinforce that rather than start with an image and then try to fit your content or your call to action around that.
Agree. Well, Adrian probably he's off now, but he had the question, an example of successful selling into personas that it's not also within sales, because probably Replied Hyperise sell to sales teams. I guess Orca Security is an example. Maybe you have some other personas, other industry successful use cases, because in terms of audiences, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can see that we're right up to the hour now. So kind of one of the things I wanted to kind of share with you, and it does echo some of the questions and comments we had earlier there, was just to share this little quiz. And I'm not sure if we've got time to do a full quiz here, but feel free to put in the comments now. I'd love to kind of hear your perspective on which one of these won. This is, again, we mentioned Orca Security before, in terms of they were doing an event and they were trying to reach out to people post the event for all the attendees to try and get them into a call. And they tried 3 different images initially. You can see here 1, 2, and 3. I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on terms of which one of these they think would win. First of all, they had a little bit of a bribe with a gift certificate. The second one here was kind of vibing off the fact that people had attended an event, and so they had like the kind of the picture from the stage. Again, obviously, these are examples all personalized to Tim Cook. And the third one, they actually had Todd here, Todd, who is the SDR that was reaching out to them, and it was a bit of an amalgamation of the gift certificate and obviously including a bit of humanization in terms of showing Todd. Anybody care to venture on which one they think would which one would win out of these three? Which one get the most responses? So let's have a
Yeah,
look.
let us know in the chat, one, two, three, which
Picture
one is
three.
the best one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
picture three. Right. Okay. So
How come? How come?
everybody chose picture three there. So actually, absolutely right. So none of these were GIFs, by the way. They were all static images. But what we can see, the baseline here, so the responses they were getting with no personalized image, 1.7% conversion. And we can see here the three different images. The GIF certificate actually got a 2.4. So actually, again, was a reasonable uplift. The event picture, again, had a bit more personalization in terms of the logo as well, 2.7. But the winner was the Todd image, where Todd managed to get a 3.1% conversion rate. So people actually kind of booking the call. So much better than the baseline, almost doubling the baseline. But what they did is they were really kind of enthused by the humanization side again. So again, same question, one, two, or three. Which of these images do you think had the biggest improvement? Again, these are three different SDRs. Obviously, we already seen Eric here in his orca suit, really kind of going to town. Again, we've got Todd here. Todd's in his home office. He didn't actually have a whiteboard at home. So this is just actually a picture off his wall. He just turned it around to kind of mock up it being a whiteboard. And then we have Simon here, who's, again, he's just standing in his hallway, and we've kind of added in an overlay. And again, Daniel, so Daniela, you've mentioned you for the static image. Being brutally honest, it's not really down to kind of in a way what you prefer. It's what your prospects prefer. If you're looking for the maximum result, I've kind of fallen into that trap myself, designing things for me. Yeah. Well, one is picture three again with the orca outfit is pretty
I think
amazing.
number three. I think number three.
Yeah, I think just because it kind of so out there. And I mean, here's the results again to remind ourselves: the email without an image at all, 1.7% conversion, 1.7%. The winner, Eric, in his orca suit, and I'm not advocating here that everybody dress up as an animal for their email campaigns, but 5.7%. I mean, it really is, a significant uplift. But even the other two, the kind of the plainer one out of the three, 4.1 versus 4.9. And if we just remind ourselves of the static images, 2.4, 2.7, and 3.1, all of those were beaten by the GIFs here. So the humanization really does play a big part in there. And whilst I totally hear what everyone's saying in terms of they don't like GIFs or they don't like this. It's about, for me at least, it's about having my email campaigns, my outreach to be as effective as possible. And these certainly were that. And if actually we look at the statistics, just in kind of the cold light of the day, this campaign in total was 7,000 messages, right? If we'd have just stuck with a baseline of no image at all, we've got 12 bookings in total, a 1.7% conversion rate. If we'd have done that if they had done that, should I say, for the whole campaign, they'd have probably got 120 bookings in total. Whereas actually what they did get was 262, and that's what I was doing an A/B test. So they got an extra 178 by stepping out of their comfort zones, by doing something that maybe they didn't feel comfortable doing, but did it nevertheless. But if they'd have just started off with the GIFs, they'd have got close to 400 bookings. So imagine, counter that, 120 bookings versus over 400. And that's really the difference that we're talking about here with Hyperise, being able to engage people, get their attention, kind of build stronger relationships, trigger that law of reciprocity, trigger a pattern interrupt, and get more responses, more people replying to your emails. And that is, if I could leave you with one thing, this little quiz and the uplift there, I'm always surprised by what does and doesn't work, but certainly, this hopefully gives you a little taster of that. Like I say, there are way more things that we could share, examples, and there are more of these in this deck that we're going to send back to you. And and it doesn't have to stop at image personalization. we can also personalize websites as well. So what we're doing then is increasing the chances of them engaging and taking action when they're taking that first click from your email to your website, being able to personalize your website as well using Hyperise, and then we can double the engagement there or more again. So, I won't say give you death by PowerPoint by going through all of these now. We will be providing this deck with you after this call so you can go through. And of course, if you do have any questions, we're always open to answer them as well. Vlad, do you have anything to share in terms of what we've just covered there?
No, all good, I guess. Wonderful presentation, wonderful slides, and for stats. Yeah, and yeah, I agree with the final touch here, final note here that just it's all about trying different things, trying to experiment and go out of your comfort zone and try new things, and it will definitely help you because they helped us at Reply as well. So yeah, and yeah, give it a try for sure.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Vlad, for having us today. Thank you, Reply, and thank you everybody that's joined us today. Really appreciate your time. I hope it's been useful. And like I say, visit hyperise.com, visit reply.io, use these two tools together, and I'm sure you're in for an amazing uplift.
Yeah. Thanks for your time today, and have a great day.